I used to secretly keep score of how many times my staff came to me first. I never called it insecurity, I called it being thorough. Hey, friend, it's Jules. If you're new to this seat or you landed here by accident the way I did, you're exactly who I coach and mentor. Nobody handed me a manual when I started almost 30 years ago. So I built one out of real trenches and 28 years of actual life experience. That's what I bring you this week. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the quietest signs that someone on your team is growing, and it doesn't look like confidence. It looks like her not checking with you first anymore. Not because she stopped respecting your leadership, it's because she stopped needing your permission to trust her own. Now, for years, our infusion nurses ran medications through gravity infusion. Plain and simple, no machine involved. These were experienced nurses who understood the infusion code, understood the monitoring, and what could read a patient's reaction before it fully happened. Gravity infusion was just how we'd always done it. Then, the pharmaceutical company changed how one of the medication was packaged and administered, and just like that, how we'd always done it was retired. The new protocol required an infusion pump, programmed to a specific rate, no exceptions. So now we need the equipment, the training, and a way to fold a machine none of us had ever touched into a workflow that had run just fine without one for years. So here's where it got fun. And fun, I mean the exact opposite of fun. The rollout hit us before the training did. The medication changed, the process changed, but the support that was supposed to show up with it, well, nowhere to be found. Our pharma reps could talk your ear off about drug itself, but ask them how to actually run the pump, and you'd get a very polite and very unhelpful shrug, or I can find someone who can help you. Quote. And somewhere in there, I remember thinking, so we're supposed to learn this by osmosis? Anyway, this wasn't something we could wing with a patient sitting in a chair ready for infusion. Somebody had to actually understand the machine, the settings, the alarms, what kind of tubing it needed, what meant handle it, and what meant dropping everything. One nurse decided that would be her, that she didn't wait for me to turn it into a project with a bow on it. Instead, she called the manufacturer, reached out to the distributor, and hunted down training videos and equipment demos like she was writing a term paper nobody assigned her. When one explanation didn't cut it, she found another person to ask. And when that person didn't have the answer either, she kept going. She was relentless. She wasn't guessing her way through patient safety. She was going to close the gap methodically on her own time. Let me tell you, she was doing all this research while trying to run clinic. The first infusion on the new pump went fine technically. Smooth, though, is a stretch. The machine was touchy. A patient shifted and it inched an inch, and the flow interrupted, and the pump would stop and start beeping. Then the count on the display wouldn't match what anyone expected, and for those few runs, every single beep pulled every eye in the room straight to the pump, mine included. There's something about an alarm you don't understand yet that makes a paper cut feel like code blue. The nurses would go check the line, figure out what interrupted it, clear it, and get back to work. Then it would beep again, and everyone would look up again, like clockwork, like the alarm had trained us instead of the other way around. Can you believe that? Every single time. They learned something. They learned how sensitive the machine actually was, what each alarm meant, what caused it to beep to begin with, and what to check before assuming the sky was falling. Slowly, the panic response turned into a shrug and a glance and a yep, that's just the pump. Now, that thing can go off mid-infusion and nobody sprints for it anymore. They hear it, they clock it, they know exactly what they're listening for and what they're looking for and what to check for. It's particularly furniture noise at this point, which still makes me laugh, honestly, because the sound that used to send us into small internal crisis is now the sound of a room that's completely under control. And that's when it landed for me. This wasn't just a nurse learns to use new equipment. She'd become the person who would operationalize a clinical change from start to finish. She knew what information was missing and where to find it, when to push the manufacturer harder, when to let the distributor do their job, and how to keep searching after the first door closed. And she stopped needing to check with me before taking the next step. She would give me updates and what she's done and what she's gonna do next. But that's it. Earlier in my career, every ounce of that would have landed on my desk. I'd have made the calls, hunted the training, chased the pharma company myself, and tried to run the whole implementation solo, partly because the clinic was my own responsibility. Sure, but partly because somewhere along the way, I'd trained myself into being the first stop for every unsolved problem in the building. That pattern sneaks up on you. Someone hits something unfamiliar. She looks at the manager. A process breaks. They look at the manager. A machine beeps. Everybody looks at the manager. And without ever saying it out loud, you've taught your whole team, don't move until I tell you what to do. It feels efficient in the moment, and it might even feel good, since being needed has a way of masquerading as being useful, but it doesn't build discernment. It builds dependence with a smile on it. This nurse wasn't handing me the whole problem anymore and waiting for me to hand back a solution. She was doing the work she was fully capable of doing, gathering information, testing it against what she knew, escalating the right things, troubleshooting the rest. And when she finally did come to me, she wasn't coming empty-handed. She had progress, sharper questions, and a clear sense of what was still missing, along with an actual recommendation for what should happen next. That's the shift that matters. The conversation stops being, what should I do? And starts being, here's what I found, and here's what I've already tried, and here's where I think we need backup. That's what developed discernment actually sound like. And it's not less dramatic than people expect. Here's the part of this we don't say out loud enough. When someone stops looking to you first, you have to let her. You have to fight the urge to jump in just because you know you could move faster. You have to stop finishing questions she hasn't even fully asked yet, and let her sit in a problem long enough to build the exact discernment you say you want her to have. That doesn't mean clocking out of clinical responsibility, patient safety, scope of practice, manufacturer guidance. None of that gets to slide. Handing someone an unfamiliar process and walking away isn't empowerment. It's abandonment with a nicer name. But there's a real difference between providing oversight and taking over, and between being available and being the only person in the entire clinic allowed to think. My job wasn't to disappear. It was to make sure the clinic had what it needed and the right support was actually being chased down, and that nothing new got implemented carelessly. What my job didn't require was me personally owning every phone call, every training question, all the troubleshooting decisions. She could carry more than that, and she proved it. A growing employee doesn't always get quieter or need less from you. Sometimes growth, just like a better quality problem showing up on your desk, instead of confusion, she brings you what she's already investigated. Instead of asking you to decide whether she brings you a recommendation. Instead of waiting for permission to start thinking, she starts thinking inside the boundaries of her role. And here's where a lot of managers trip themselves up. We say we want initiative, and then the second someone shows it, we correct every detail, redo the work, or quietly take the responsibility back. It doesn't take long before the employee learns it's just safer to wait for you. And they don't have to. Then we turn around and complain that nobody takes ownership around here. You don't get to want both. If you want people to develop real discernment, they need actual room to use it. It's called implementation. I call this one the first look check. Before you hand someone the answer, run this checklist. It takes about 10 seconds and it'll tell you which move to make. You've heard me say this before. Make the next right move. And she's been trained, informed, cleared to take the next step safely. If no, there's a gap for you to close, not a moment to teach independence. Is she bringing me a problem or a problem she's already worked? Empty-handed means she needs direction. Worked means she needs something else. What else has she already tried? If the answer is nothing yet, that's information too. Am I about to solve this, or am I about to let her? That's the one that actually catches you in the act. If she's cleared and she's already done the legwork, your job is to support, not take over. If she's not cleared yet, or she hasn't done any digging at all, that's your cue to step in. But even then, step in with her, not over her. If this one hit close to home, or you know someone standing right where I was, still trying to be everyone's first stop, send this episode their way. And if you don't want to miss the rest of the season, hit follow so it just shows up for you. That's all I've got for you this week. Until next time, my friend, stand and deliver on discernment. Aloha.